and bring to order our Wednesday, March 15th, 2023 Western Regional Water Commission. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Abbott, would you lead us, sir?
Please, absolutely. Please join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, hello, everybody. I want to welcome Commissioner Garcia. Yes, and let's go ahead and begin with roll call.
Christopher Dare.
Here.
Susan Sever.
I'm here.
Paul Anderson.
Here.
Naomi Burke.
Here.
Aramis Garcia. Here. Jenny Breckes.
Here.
Alexis Hill.
Here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and, do we have any public comment today?
We do.
We don't, you said?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. And then we have the approval agenda. To start that, I'm just gonna say, because we've had Commissioner Von Hartung has resigned from his post, and some of you guys don't know that yet, but he did. He's gonna be taking a state job, which directly takes him off of this board, and a few others. But what ends up happening is we had today that we were going to vote for chair, vice chair, and all that stuff. Because we have some people absent and did not know, we're going to just kind of table that for now and make sure we can have a full, robust discussion. I don't want anybody assigned to that position without everyone's support, in my opinion. So with that said, Paul, would you mind making a motion on the corrected?
Yes, sir. I'd like to approve the agenda with the following changes, to remove item number 5 and move items 10 and 13 up, move them up above item 5, please.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any more discussion? Passed unanimously. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and start with our budget, if we would, with 10. He moved it before that. Yeah, it's all good. Technically, we just moved it in front of
We're
it.
trying to confuse you today.
I'm sufficiently confused. Kim Rigdon for the record. Thank you very much, and good morning, commissioners. And I just wanted to say welcome to our new commissioners today. It's really nice to see new faces up on the board and lots of changes happening, so we're pretty excited.
Well, Donald's a repeat offender, so he was here, and then we kicked him off for personal reasons. And I'm just kidding. He had his time on, and now he's back, so.
Wonderful. All right, so if we're working on item 10, is that correct? We moved that up? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm excited to bring the budget before you today. Our budget is a fairly simple budget. You'll see in your board packet, item 10A is all 3 pages of our budget. And the first page is a summary of the overview of revenues and expenses and ending cash balance and ending operating expenses. Page 2, the table is our professional services budget, and many of you have seen this from year to year, but you've also seen this at the November 1st concurrent meeting that we held with the Water Planning Commission, where we discussed the projects and went through all the different projects and budget items for that. The change on table 2 you'll see is, in the past, we've held a budget line item for projects that may not have a scope of work or they don't have an existing agreement. The Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission felt it was a good idea to keep those as to be determined budget items and then include that into the contingency and future projects line item, so that money is still available for us to designate to the different projects, but it allows more time and flexibility for us to, at the staff level and the Water Planning Commission level, take a look at those scopes of work, really look at the budgets and make sure that they're appropriate for that scope of work, and then look at do we want to phase those projects? Can we afford to, or do we want to designate that funding to that project for that entire, for that fiscal year? So it does create a little bit more flexibility, and it creates a little more accountability for us to be able to look at the scopes of work and make sure that that works for us before we designate a budget for that project.
For those new on the board, it also looks better because for years it always showed we had a negative to begin because of the way we slowly trickled out money. And so I think it looks better from all of our eyes as well.
Oh, good.
Because it would always say negative, whatever, and then you guys would have to explain to us why. And so even for the public, I think it's easier for everyone to understand.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it is a little easier to understand that those projects aren't fully developed, and we're working on the scopes of work, so. And page 3 is our standard operating costs. There is a $100,000 increase in this budget compared to last year's budget. $50,000 of that is in our professional services budget detail that went into the contingency future project development fund. And another $50,000 was, we hired a new water management planner in June, and it accounts for the salary and benefits package for that particular position. When we budgeted that in fiscal year '23, we hadn't hired that person yet in that previous May, so it wasn't included in that budget. So you'll see that we have $1.73 million in revenues that we've estimated to come in this year, $1.765 million in our estimated cash balance, and that cash balance is actually almost $400,000 more than we had estimated it to be the previous year. So when you look at that $100,000 increase in our projects budget and our staff budgets, our salaries budget, we have plenty of cash balance. We're estimating plenty of cash balance to cover that, and to also put aside, instead of a 6-month operating expense reserve fund, we've increased it to a year. So that was a really nice change, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Was the increase because we sold more water? I mean,
It was the increase because
because we sold more water, you know, how we take a percent?
actually, the revenues
Yeah.
are estimated to be lower than last year's.
I thought you said there was an increase.
There's an increase in the budget for expenses.
The total budget, yes,
Yeah,
well, you
yeah.
explained that. But I
Yeah.
thought you were also saying we had an increase in our revenues.
In
So-
our in our estimated cash
Cash
balance at the end of
reserves.
the year. And I think that was more due to the fact that a lot of our projects that we had reserved budget for didn't actually develop scopes of
Gotcha.
work and come to fruition.
Okay, thank you.
And so our expenses are the professional services budget, which you'll see is 2.16 million, our staff and legal expenses, for total expenses of $2.867 million. We have a year's estimated cash balance of operating budget available for us. Our minimum is to carry 6 months cash balance for operating expenses, and so we've met that goal and extended it out to a year. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to the board for discussion and questions.
Any questions on the budget? Ms. Breckus?
Yeah, I brought this up previously, and it is about the Cold Springs water balance modeling. Okay, how much is assigned to that?
That's
$0?
to be determined. So that was another one that we've had that on the last couple of budget
Yeah.
cycles. And we've been working with Washoe County for them to finish their rapid infiltration basin analysis at the Cold Springs Water Reclamation Facility, which is a component of that. They wanted to complete that study before they further develop the scope of work for the Cold Springs water balance.
Well, I think because it's been a carryover concept, I think before we, start to move in any direction, the scope needs to come back to us.
Absolutely.
Because the thing about carrying things over, it's good, it's like a general CIP. We don't carry a CIP because we're not capital, but maybe we want to adopt a bifurcated, this FY, future ones, almost like a CIP, and CIP items can be planning items, planning studies. And maybe that's something this agency wants to do, is just do this year FY allocations and then a capital improvement plan for study purposes as a separate document. So those concepts are over there. Because I've been following this one and, as it shows on the annual budgets, and I understand Washoe County did complete or get some new information on their water treatment plant. Hasn't been shared with anyone in this body. I know it hasn't been shared at the city. It's not our plant, but we have a large development that's supposed to go to it, which has also shown some signals to us of going in a different direction. And then likewise, Washoe County has a massive land use plan amendment out there. So I'm very focused on that basin because I think it's the next one for our region to ruin. And when do you think you're going to bring that forward to us? Because I want to prevent seeing
Those are really good
I want to
questions.
prevent ruining that basin again.
Yeah, those are
That
really good
basin.
questions, and I think we've been anticipating figuring out the timeline for that project as well. The rapid infiltration basin analysis was just presented to the regional effluent management team a week ago. Those results and the report, the final report for that.
The staff, the closed-door staff working group, right?
It's like an ad hoc staff working
okay,
group.
okay.
And so that report, though, was emailed out to all the different agency
Okay,
directors. So
okay.
they should have that report in hand. And if
Okay.
they don't, let me know, and I'll make sure that I get them
Okay.
a copy.
Okay.
Now that that's done, I have been in conversations with Dwayne Smith with Washoe County, and he is currently developing the scope of work and promised it this spring.
Okay.
So once that scope of work is developed, even with the budget being approved, those projects, when they have a new scope of work and a budget associated, we bring them to the
Okay.
commission, and you'll see that project
Okay.
scope of work and budget to approve.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Dewar?
Mr. Chair. Thank you. I want to flag an issue for you, and we've already talked a lot about it at this commission, and that is the stormwater issue. I think you may know that the city of Reno is underway in trying to stand up a stormwater utility. And done a tremendous amount of work. This has been very long in the planning. But I also know that Washoe County also needs to stand up a stormwater utility. And I'm very impressed with the work Sparks done, going all the way back to 2008, when they stood up their stormwater utility. That's probably when I began suggesting that the city of Reno do the same. But here we are today, 15 years after Sparks, and neither Washoe County nor Reno have such a thing. And yet we have more and more issues. And I note on your report here, but it's under regional flood control. I'm not sure that's the right bucket, but you're talking about Steamboat Ditch flooding study. But I know already we've had staff out in the Verdi area related to Steamboat Ditch with ice dams out there and overflow and other issues onto residents out there, some of whom are Reno, some of whom are Washoe County. And I think we may need some help, both the city of Reno and Washoe County with the stormwater utility issues. And I think this is a good forum to consider and talk about that and maybe support that effort. So I'm not proposing any change to the budget right now, but depending on our progress with that, I wouldn't be surprised if we came back and asked for some assistance, which is the role of this group, is to collaborate regionally on these big issues. So
I think there'd be some wisdom, and we can even do that in our final comments that we get to make, and maybe just ask for us to get an update regionally. What are you guys seeing? And then
Right.
And then, so what, again, I appreciate that it shouldn't affect this budget, and I agree with that.
And I see we have zero, in that it's all TBD. And I don't know, do we actually have a Steamboat Ditch flooding study that we're working on?
We do. Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
So when we had our concurrent meeting in November, Dwayne actually presented the results of the Phase 1 Steamboat
Right.
Creek study. And he said they are currently working on Phase 2 scope of work, and like the Cold Springs water balance, we anticipate that coming very quickly in the spring.
But are they self-funding that at Washoe County, or are we co-funding it?
We're co-funding it.
But we're just not sure how much.
Not sure.
Okay.
Until we see the scope of work, and that was what I was trying to explain. Until we see the scope of work, it's hard to
And
put a
then the
budget to
same
it.
would be on the Lemon Valley. These are two hotspots, but there are more too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions down here? Very good. So we are looking for a motion to accept, if that is what we so inclined.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a motion to accept the draft, I think we're calling this, the tentative budget
Budget summary.
for fiscal year 2024, and to schedule a hearing for adoption for the WRWC, and we didn't hear a date. Is that just to be determined?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to get to that, I apologize. We every year schedule our budget hearing with TUMWA
Right.
and the Regional Flood Management Authority, and we've coordinated that to be May 18th, and so the WRWC would meet at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And it keeps that meeting short, it's a 30-minute meeting.
Yeah.
So,
And also I'll say, schedule a public hearing for adoption by the WRWC. I won't leave the date in case there's a change, but.
Have a first, do I have a second? I have our second. Any other discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. So budget is done. Moving on to 13, this is the action discussion and possible direction to staff to make an appointment for the WRWC Legislative Subcommittee, and I'll just speak to this for a second. Typically, as vice chair, this is one of the duties we tended to say, and then we had a backup and things like that. Because of some of my health issues that I'm dealing with, I'm only taking on certain boards and some different things, and we also have some change up going on here that will require potential work and things. But anyway, with that said, I'm going to not be on that, and I also backed off the TUMWA one, which I believe you and Paul,
Myself, Paul, and Alexis.
Alexis, so,
And, you could, it's just an idea, appoint the same people, and then it'll be like a one and, together meeting.
so for me, that makes sense. At the same time, there might people who have interest, and
Right.
to me, I think it's one of those things if somebody says, well, and maybe we even could have an alternate out of
Well, and I
here.
was gonna say, we have alternates, Ms. Breckus, and, Mr. Anderson was the alternate for you.
Yeah, so it might be nice to have an alternate for him, and so, which is not me. I don't want to be his
Might be
alternate. So I don't know if, Ms. Garcia, if you'd like to consider, or do we want Donald, or doesn't matter? Do you?
Transition right now, so I'm kind of holding still.
You don't have to take on anything else. You're in charge of everything in the world. No,
It might be nice to have the 3 jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Don.
okay, perfect.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on this then. I'd like to recommend we appoint Mr. Anderson, Ms. Hill, and myself as the members, and Ms. Breckus and Mr. Abbott as alternates.
Do we have a first? Do I have a second?
Second?
And any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? It passes unanimously. And then for a moment, I just have to say, Ms. Severett, I'm sorry, I did not say thank you for being here. You snuck in around to the back and then
That's fine.
well, I'm usually much more of a gentleman than that, so I apologize. Welcome. Yeah, so, and if there's anything you have questions on as we go, or if there's something you're like, hey, I want to know about that. Okay, very good. Good to know. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, now we are to the approval of the minutes from the January 18th, 2023. Do I have anybody that'd like to go back and look at anything else, or do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept.
We have a first?
Second?
I have a second. I was actually at this one. I was on call, so no, I wasn't there. So I'm going to say I'm not voting because I have no idea what you guys talked about during that time. But any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. And presentation and report regarding the Truckee Meadows Source Water and Watershed Protection Plan update. Ms. Kim Rigdon.
thank you, Vice Chairman. So some of the new board members may not know that in my previous life, I worked at NDEP prior to taking this job 1.5 years ago. And in that role, I was the Source Water Protection Program Manager. And our new water management planner, Birgit Wittegren, was the program manager for the Non-Point Source program that funded and helped to develop watershed management plans. And so we had put our heads together about 5 years ago and said, we want to go into Washoe County and get a regional plan done. And we brought the funding together for that, and over a 5-year period, developed the Regional Source Water and Watershed Plan that was accepted by this board in 2020. And we thought it would be a nice update to get a presentation today on what activities are ongoing and how Tumwa is implementing that plan and projects that are going on in the region. So I'd like to invite Jill Sutherland, who is a senior engineer and board member at Resource Concepts Inc. Their firm has been doing source water protection under a contract with NDEP for close to 12 years now, and she was the primary driver behind accomplishing getting the plan drafted and then implemented. Also, Cara Steeland here is from, she's a hydrologist for Tumwa, who also sits on our Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission board, and she's going to give a report on Tumwa's activities. So I'm happy to welcome them both up.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name as you speak, and we're glad you're here to educate us.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Can we just advance the slides? Okay. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for having us here this morning. I'm Jill Sutherland, as Kim was kind enough to introduce us, with Resource Concepts. This morning, as Kim mentioned, we were here in 2020 to ask for approval of this plan, and a lot has been accomplished now that it's 2023. And we really want to recognize those accomplishments and the collaboration of all the partners that have been so great to work with in this community. So, sorry. Thanks. So just a moment about the plan. Source water protection is all about your community planning and implementing a plan to protect your drinking water quality at the source in your aquifers and rivers. This is a voluntary approach, and RCI is a technical assistance contractor with NDEP. So NDEP, Bureau of Safe Drinking Water, provides assistance, but this is a non-regulatory plan. Because the aquifers and the river in the Truckee Meadows supply most of your water to your community, the non-point source management and watershed management goes hand in hand with source water protection for this community. And this source water protection watershed management plan that you pulled together, it provides source water protection for more people than all of the other wellhead protection and source water protection plans developed in the state. Let's see. This is a list of the partners that were involved in developing the plan. And I have to say, they have continued to actively implement projects from the plan and recently completed an update in 2022. So a little bit about the update. TMRPA, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency, have been a fantastic partner. They host the website. It's WashoeCountyCleanWater.org. If you haven't looked at it, click on it sometime. It's a fantastic amount of information there. All the elements of the plan are available. And the TMRPA just gave this website a beautiful facelift. They have some real data management and website development wizards down there. And it's much more user-friendly and easy to see. Tumwa has also been great at helping keep this plan up to date. They've updated all of the mapping to correspond to their most recent groundwater models, and working with their GIS department was a real pleasure. And they provided this information to TMRPA for the update. Washoe County District Health has also played a crucial role. For the update, they reviewed all the small water systems throughout Washoe County and their water sources, mostly wells and springs. There's almost 100 water systems within Washoe County. Only 3 of those are associated with Tumwa. 76 of them are active. and under district health purview. So a huge thank you to the environmental services folks over there. So, a plan is a plan. It's great. But what we really want to celebrate is implementation of that plan, right? So what are some of the projects we've done? RCI, through the Integrated Source Water Protection Program, helped coordinate the spill coordination working group, which involved 4 bureaus at NDP. I'm sorry, it's kind of small to read. City of Sparks and City of Reno Environmental Control, NDOT, TUMWA, District Health, as well as staff from the Regional Water Commission. We spent about 2 months going through all the spill and contingency and cleanup processes that the state and local folks have to work together. We came up with some nice informational flow charts to help people figure out what they would need to do and when more efficiently. Through Safe Drinking Water and this program, we sponsor about $20,000 worth of sponsorships, went to Sierra Nevada Journeys to help them include a more robust drinking water message in their fantastic watershed education plan. And the Truckee Meadows Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee has continued to do monitoring and water restoration projects, including some that were funded by 319, as well as others that have other local funding. And One Truckee River, I understand they're going to be giving a presentation today, and I'll just say that they are been a wonderful partner for us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cara Steeland.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. Cara Steeland from TUMWA for the record. I'm just going to give a brief overview of 2 more implementation activities. As Jill mentioned, One Truckee River is a critical partner doing a lot of watershed and source water protection work. And one project that TUMWA has been heavily involved in with OTR is the installation of new public restrooms along the river corridor. Obviously, it has multiple benefits for the community, one of which is helping to improve upstream water quality above TUMWA's Glendale water treatment plant intake. As you can see here, the project profile here was included in our source water protection and watershed management plan, which allowed One Truckee River to obtain 319H funding from NDEP for the second restroom installation. So there's a lot of benefits of this plan, one of which is opening up more doors for funding opportunities. Next slide, please. And then a key component that many of you have heard about, so I'll run through it quickly for newer members, but a really important effort as that was completed as part of this plan was the implementation of our business and development notification tool. So it basically provides TUMWA a way to be notified if there are new businesses with potential contaminants of concern near our source water protection areas, including both our groundwater and surface water sources. We worked with City of Reno during the Title 18 code update to add a source water protection component, and we started receiving notifications in 2021. So basically, businesses that have potentially contaminating activities, which are specifically listed in the code, they're required to submit a form to TUMWA on a website hosted by us. And once the form is filled out, an automatic email response is sent to the submitter. As we worked with City of Reno staff, our main goal was to ensure that this process didn't create a burden for city staff or increase review time. So basically, all the applicant has to do is include the email in the business application packet, and the city staff just has to check to make sure whether it's there or not. And then TUMWA does all of the kind of review and analysis on our side. So we review weekly reports if applicants do submit to our form, and we determine if there are any concerns. So we contact all businesses within the critical source water protection areas. So that's within our 20-year capture zones of our wellheads and within 300 feet of the river corridor and tributaries. And so we basically provide educational information about following proper local, state, and federal guidelines in regard to things like underground storage tanks, best management practices, and just trying to let people know what a source water protection area is and why it's important that they follow all of the applicable laws. If we do have additional concerns for something like a heavy industrial site that's really close to a wellhead or near the river, then we do reach out to applicants, and sometimes we'll meet to discuss those sites in more detail. So in 2022, we received notifications from 118 businesses and contacted 37 of those. The map here shows the source water protection areas, and the businesses we contacted are in red. And one of our main goals for 2023 is to expand this program to include Washoe County and City of Sparks, so we cover all of our source water protection areas. And then also just to note, which we presented to the TUMWA board last year, but this program, the whole plan really won a national recognition with the 2022 Exemplary Source Water Protection Award from AWWA, the American Water Works Association. So it's a nationally recognized award-winning plan. So it's been 5 years putting it together and a couple years of implementation now, and it's a really excellent thing for our community.
Thank you. Any questions that we could answer for you all this morning?
Mr. Anderson?
I do have a couple of questions. One, so I wanted to make sure if I understood this correctly, this is active with City of Reno, and some of us that are involved with Washoe County and Sparks maybe need to encourage our teams, or where are you in that process?
We're starting to engage with staff. The reason we basically were able to engage so quickly with City of Reno was that the city was in the middle of their Title 18 code update. So it was easy to get, they were already amending the code, so it was easier for us to be included in that process. But yes, we would like to, work with City of Sparks and Washoe County staff.
You should talk to somebody from Sparks.
Yeah.
So yes, we do. We are starting to engage with staff members.
Okay, perfect. And then just clarification. So on the map, I was looking at some of those that I believe you do call it a bloom or whatever as far as the spread. I notice a lot in the Sparks industrial area, which makes sense. So what are some of the things that you're looking for in those areas, and how you recognize that as a potential concern?
Right. So the colored kind of blobs you see on the map are our wellhead capture zones. So the orange is the 2-year, the yellow is the 5-year, 10-year, and then 20-year. So they're basically showing our wellhead locations, and then what would happen if something was to spill in the 20 years. It would take 20 years of travel time to get to the wellhead itself. So things we're concerned about obviously are gas stations with underground storage tanks, anything that's kind of like a heavy industrial use, new cleaners coming in. And we don't have regulatory authority in any of these cases, but we can at least educate those business owners to let them know that there are laws in place already on the local and state level that they need to follow. So basically, we're just trying to make sure we know where those are, and kind of put people on notice that they are in a drinking water source area.
Okay. And last question, just understanding the process. So if I understand correctly, an organization or individual has a spill or release. Obviously, they're going through the county, through the state. How do you become involved, or how do you gather that information afterwards?
So that was partially why we had that spill coordination working group that Jill mentioned, because that was kind of muddled before. So we kind of clarified that process now. So we do get reports from NDEP through our water quality team at TUMWA. They get those reports and forward them on to me and Christian, who work on source water protection issues. And often there's not much we need to do. Usually they're already being taken care of, through mitigation efforts. So usually it's more that we just start paying attention, making sure things like a company is coming in to remove soil if there's a gas spill at a site. And so it's basically us just making sure those activities are occurring. But generally on our side, we don't have to do much if there's a spill.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sure.
It's more of a comment. I have familiarity with these programs from, previously, and I never, it's something probably long overdue here, but my understanding was always not that heightened because we didn't have that much of an industrial base, But I feel like the lost thought on wellhead protection is really those septics in Southwest Reno, and, it's not captured in this program, correct?
No, we don't. I don't think septics are addressed they are addressed in the source water plan, correct, Jill?
Yes, they are, in terms of there's information in the plan about them and sort of a more, some goals to address septic systems long-term. but there's no specific action items that were identified in the plan
Yeah,
at this time. But the plan, I don't know, this provides a resource if you ever do want to move forward with anything.
yeah, it's a missed opportunity, because really in my view, the choice is one of investment from Reno and their sewer system. And they could have covered this problem of wellhead protection by bringing sewer infrastructure into this area, but the choices have been spending massive amounts of money for lift stations and so on up in the North Valleys to send industrial, to send new customers to Tumwharf. And when I look at one lift station, I think how much wellhead protection could have been provided by getting those collection systems out there. And I bring that up every year to the Reno City Council. They don't want to invest that way. They're investing over where they're seeing new warehouse demand and new housing demand. And it would be good, the next iteration of this plan, make that from a capital improvement plan perspective. So it could be some ammunition for someone to say, look, the value is wellhead protection. The wellheads are not being protected because of this investment choice.
Thank you. I have a question. So potentially, I get all this, and I think, first of all, congratulations. It's always good to do something nationally and to be recognized for it, so kudos to all that. With what we're doing with wastewater testing and things, is it, because right now a lot of this seems to be based upon planning. We get information of what we think we're going to do. But there are things that we now can test that is new to us, that we can test, we can put it in specific places to protect and know what's coming through our sewage system, what kind of water is, whatever. Is there ever a thought or a wisdom to use some of that technology to help add to our barriers? Does that make sense, my question?
Yes, it makes sense. And it's a very good question. And I think when we were developing this plan, the idea of recycled water as source water hadn't crystallized with the community, but it is crystallizing now, and a lot of effort's been put toward that. So maybe I see this as a continuing living document.
Total.
The
And
next
so
update.
I'd be interested in, just as conversations go, little updates, or if we can mention that and see, because I know we already are in certain areas starting to put some of those detectors in. So it's not that the infrastructure might already be in place, might just be a matter of focusing on what we're looking at. And so that could be maybe cost efficient across the whole region, because I think we're all a part of that. So just a thought. Is this something that you need us to, is this just an update today?
Simply informational, yep.
Yes,
Information?
just information.
Well, some very good information. Is there anybody else before we close this down? We're going to move on. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Steeland and Ms. Sutherland. Thank
We
you.
couldn't have done it without the NNWPC and the WRWC participation and collaboration. on
I think we've learned everything's teamwork. If you think you did it yourself, then you did not. So we're on to number 8, presentation and report of the One Truckee River project status. We have Ms. Bridget Widegren. Did I say that right? Widegren? Whittigren.
It's a tricky name.
Yeah. And then Iris Gell is here as well, so.
Go. How do I forward? You can advance.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Birgit Whittegren, Water Management Planner for the record, and I'm very pleased to be introducing a project status update for the One Truckee River project. And I just wanted to give a brief background. In 2013, the community decided through efforts with Nevada Land Trust and Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful to embark upon a 130 agency stakeholder group to create One Truckee River, looking at all aspects of different management activities that could be implemented on the Truckee River. And at the time, I was at NDEP, and I was invited to co-chair regarding the water quality component with Mr. Enlow, who I believe is in the audience with Tumwa. And in 2016, the One Truckee River Management Plan was adopted by Washoe County, the cities of Reno and Sparks, and this commission. And I am really excited to introduce Iris Jaley Papard, who is the Executive Director of One Truckee River, who is doing business underneath the 501c3 created, the Truckee River Foundation. And she has been the executive director for 5 years now. And there are just great things happening in this community as a result. And she will report on that. With that, thank you, Iris.
Thank you.
Do you, Birgit, what is your official role with One Truckee River now? You said you were with NDP.
I was very active with One Truckee River. I was on the board. When I was hired as the water management planner, I actually stepped down from the board. And so now I oversee the project for the WRWC.
Okay, hello, commissioners.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. For the record, I'm Iris Jaley Papard, as stated, the Executive Director of One Truckee River. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an update. At the core of what we do, One Truckee River is a nonprofit that manages a watershed coalition, a partnership of public and private entities working together in our mission, that is to ensure a healthy and thriving Truckee River connected to the community. Some of our accomplishments in the last 2 years have been our water trail work focused on interagency coordination and fundraising for public facilities, river access, and signage improvements for paddlers and pedestrians. Together, we installed over 250 interpretive signs that includes maps, directions, and ways to care for the Truckee River. We purchased 3 loos that are being installed in the city of Reno, one installed at Broadhead Park in 2020, another one that's having a grand opening tomorrow at John Champion Park, 11 a.m. Everybody's welcome, and a third scheduled for City Plaza in 2024. Through this work, we partner with local human service nonprofits to support the success of the loos. We have started a regional coordinated vegetation management effort to improve the ecological function of the river system. We have an active technical working group representing 16 local agencies with authority or involvement in vegetation management along the river that has completed a framework vegetation management and restoration plan. We look forward to developing pilot projects that are elements of the plan. This spring, we will be conducting an overall conditions assessment for the river from Crystal Peak Park to Vista Narrow and continue to coordinate the technical working group. We have completed a 30% design, reaching our milestone 1 for a restoration project at Broadhead Park. We have received technical support from National Park Service that has led to a grant from River Network to support a process of engaging local community leaders in river stewardship and improvements. We have, One Truckee River completed a strategic communications plan that details out One Truckee River's story and why our work is important, our target audiences and messaging, and communication platforms and goals. We have developed a Truckee River dashboard through continued involvement with our partners and collaboration with Truckee Meadows Tomorrow to create a way to measure our success. Currently, we are at the last stages of the project, working with Desert Research Institute to assist us with the water quality indicators. With support from Western Regional Water Commission, we have developed a river-friendly living program, working together to love the Truckee River. The program is divided into 4 branches: individual actions, yards, neighborhoods, and voices and hands. The program is focused on adult education to reduce non-point pollution to the river. Overall branding research and facilitated focus groups inform the development of our program branding. In 2022, with over 250 posts published, we reached close to 200,000 people with messages on how to care for the Truckee River. We hosted well-attended workshops with over 200 participants, with 93% of them reporting improved knowledge. 4 workshops were held in collaboration with the Truckee Meadows Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee to 55 homeowner association managers. And we developed video resources on our website to allow anyone, anytime to view our educational information. we just received a grant from NDEP to develop a river-friendly demonstration garden at Lake Park in collaboration with the City of Reno and the local neighborhood. We expanded our partnership council to include now 30 representatives from 20 local agencies that meet quarterly, and have developed an oversight committee that is exploring how to leverage local funding to increase federal funding for the Truckee River. We have increased the capacity of One Truckee River through the development of a powerful Salesforce nonprofit Success Pack database. On the screen is our homepage, showing data from our fund report, active contracts and grants, where we are with our donation goal, our income divided out by source and purpose, current grants and contracts, partnership council attendance, and last but not least, my tasks as it relates to fundraising and partner engagement. Back to the fund report on the upper left-hand side, if you push on prospecting, you will see possible new funders that OTR is focused on in 2023. Going into one of those funding opportunities, and you see the funder's contact person and the history of engagement with them. This system is a powerful tool for One Truckee River to gain more funding to further the implementation of the One Truckee River Management Plan. We have also developed a fund directory identifying over 40 new funding opportunities for One Truckee River, other nonprofits, and government agencies to explore moving forward for the Truckee River. Here are those funding opportunities divided out by our projects. We are researching these opportunities now in more detail and have ones that we will be applying for this year. Thank you sincerely for your support of One Truckee River. And questions?
I have one. I saw urban as a huge area that you guys are looking to expand in. Is that, so you do already a lot of work right here in our cities, and so, but we do find as soon as you leave our city and you head anywhere down the 80, we start getting ourselves in trouble again, where we have problems and we have things that are happening. Is that part of what you're focused on?
I would say that the coordinated vegetation management planning effort is definitely a collaborative effort with a lot of different agencies. And so, as you guys probably know, the Nature Conservancy and the Flood Authority do work more in the urban area of this stretch. In the more rural area of this stretch. And so, yeah, One Truckee River is working to level up to be able to do restoration in the urban core.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
and we learned a lot through getting to 30% with the Broadhead Restoration Project.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Iris, what is your, and you may have mentioned this and I just missed it, the overall budget? And have you adopted an annual budget for One Truckee River?
It has been, our last budget was about $500,000. And, but it feels really like a moving target because OTR is growing. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, not to make you guys dizzy here, but here we go.
A lot of fine print and I just couldn't quite pick it up.
Yeah, I know. And there's so much information. I'm pretty amazed at this system and how it can do it. So you can see, we're a little bit over, $500,000. So that's what's been awarded. And then, it has so what we've closed out, and let me note that in September 2020, One Truckee River transitioned from its fiscal agent, Nevada Land Trust, to its long-term home, the Truckee River Foundation that Birgit mentioned. And so this is not anything, this is not reporting on One Truckee River under the fiscal agent of Nevada Land Trust. Gotcha. It is only what we've been doing since then.
Since then. Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
It definitely is impressive. It's neat seeing watching this all go. Mr. Abbott, you got a question?
I got just two. So if I'm walking home after this meeting and I run into my neighbor and they ask me, how can they be more river friendly? What's the one tip I can give them?
Water on site. I would say follow your fertilizer instructions. Okay. Consider, native and pollinator plants, work to build healthy soil, which seems like, oh, that's about gardening, not about water. But, healthy soil retains more water. And then, I just really encourage going on to our website. There's a lot of information
Gotcha.
there. Yeah.
Cool. And then my other one is the trail signs. I remember I saw a photo when we put the little pucks, I'm gonna call them on the path. But I know we've went to the wooden posts now, right? That are along the river.
Yeah, the ones that look like the one we were standing next to, kind of in a national park. I think it looks like, yeah.
And so are we seeing less vandalism of those than the old pucks that we had on the ground?
I think that now that they're installed, they're really under the management of each jurisdiction.
got you.
So I don't know that detail, but I do know that we haven't heard complaints about that.
It looked good on the Spark side, but I don't ride my bike too much else anywhere, so.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Breckus?
Did, and thanks for the report, and I really do think the group, it's been nice to watch it grow and form. But one question I had was, I think you were one of the organizations that has maybe contracted with that Karma Box. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think Reno did when the news came out that they maybe were not performing as some of their contractual obligations. And I just wanted to ask about that. Are they still a group that you contract with? And if not, what were they doing and who's filled that gap?
Yeah, so we are not contracting with Karma Box anymore, and their issue with not filing the 990 is a big contributing factor of that.
Okay.
Currently, the Lou attendant is hired directly under One Truckee River, but through that 2-month experience, I've really recognized that that position does need the support of a human service nonprofit. And so we just got in contract with Reno Initiative for Shelter and Equality.
Okay. I wondered about that because I saw them referenced up there, and I know that they do, well, I know. I mean, it's really just being an attendant to the bathrooms and cleaning them, right? Is that
It
what they're
is,
doing? Okay.
but I think it's really important that that individual has that hard life experience that we're seeing in the stretch of the river that's from Broadhead to John Champion.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, RISE, Reno Initiative for Shelter and Equality, they manage Washoe County, our place. So they are, not only is that their expertise, but they are also at the capacity level of being able to manage many, many employees.
Okay. And then obviously that workload's going to double starting tomorrow, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and they have been watching over it since it's been installed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no problem. We do need to, we have another meeting, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'll just do 1 second, and I already had a chance to fill you in, Iris, but for everyone, Reno just decided to invest $3 million in the Truckee River in terms of a Truckee River park, connecting these various gems like John Champion, Broadhead Park, and many, many others. And so I think that will, very much help and further your work, and we're looking forward to being partners with you on that as well.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Not trying to rush, but we don't want to get down to the wire and have to cut anything, so. We have the presentation report regarding WRWC, the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, Purified Water Facility Site Visits, and I have to apologize. I know that people say I shouldn't, but I so wanted to go on that. I had a few things happen where I couldn't, so I can't wait to hear the report.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mark Milan. Is my mic on? I just want to make sure it's on. So Kim Rigdon for the record. I just wanted to introduce Mark Milan for the new commissioners that aren't aware of their firm and what they do for the WRWC. So Mark Milan is the principal for Data Instincts, and Data Instincts is under contract with the WRWC to assist the regional partners with developing a communication plan around our recycled water projects and our the bigger picture One Water Nevada efforts for water resource planning. So with that, I just want to turn the time over to Mark. He's going to do the beginning of the presentation on our purified water facility visits that some of the board members went on, and we've got a lot of good feedback to share with you.
Great, thank you, Kim. And it's great to see some of you since our last trip in February. Thought I would start with just a brief refresher on what One Water Nevada is for the benefit of new members. And it's, as the slide shows, it's a collaborative effort of regional agencies exploring a comprehensive resource management approach to extending the resiliency and sustainability of existing local water supply. So through this effort, One Water Nevada seeks to identify, understand, and implement water practices such as building resiliency into our water supply, considering long-term water resource management issues, and replenishing aquifers through the application of new water treatment technologies. And this is all of these agencies working together to explore that. The initial efforts has been to evaluate how to best improve water utilization efficiency, providing flexibility during drought, and diversify the region's water supply using Nevada's Category A+ advanced purified water. And of course, they've been investigating that, and the research indicates that it's a promising potential water resource for the future. So again, for the benefit of those who may not be familiar, there is a website, onewaternevada.com, that does have a lot of information about the project and also shares links to other similar projects around the country that do advanced water treatment. And it has frequently asked questions, project schedules, covers basics like the water cycle, and also looks at what other communities are doing, perspectives from medical professionals on advanced treated water, et cetera. Importantly, on the website is all the studies and research done up to this point, right? And as new ones are completed, they're always posted here. So it's very transparent as to what the activities are surrounding this research and all the various projects that are being considered and looked at. Now, most recently, as I mentioned in January and February, we invited some of you and electeds and staffs of the various agencies involved to visit existing facilities to get a real feel for what does it take to operate, raise the funds, and build and maintain these advanced water treatment facilities. I think this is really very helpful in gaining lessons learned from the various people who are doing these, and also to better recognize and articulate what are the project values to a community and what are the benefits to the public from these projects, right? So we had the opportunity to visit some first in Southern California, Orange County Water District. And I think what was helpful for everyone who visited was being able to see the treatment processes, each step, to better see how water could be cleaned, going wastewater to drinking water quality. Quite a challenging concept, but when you see it in action and you get to taste the water at the end, I think it's a very profound experience. In addition to that, and probably most important, is all the participants were able to listen to other leaders who had spent years developing their projects and implementing and sharing the different challenges that they faced in their communities, introducing this new type of water resource to their communities. In particular, I thought it was very valuable to look at the latest demonstration sites for the public in educating them about the processes involved in water treatment process to clean water to this level, and also not just advanced purified water, but also using reclaimed recycled water for landscape irrigation. And I think this site in particular, the Albert Robles Center, really did that for all of us who were there. It's almost like going to Disneyland, seeing their interactive processes, and I think it's a good model for many communities to consider for the future for educating their community. One of them that really stood out, I think, to a lot of you was the demonstration site at Pure Water Monterey. Interestingly, the demonstration site was built about 5 years before the actual facility. And it was helpful for training operators to learn how to run these systems and get familiar with it, as well as bringing the public fifth graders to electeds, other communities who were interested in these processes. And this demonstration site, just as some of you saw it, has been around for over 5 years in that community and been very helpful to them. Lastly, I'll just say that I think there's immense value, and I know you're all very busy with other issues, especially those of you serving on councils. You have a lot on your plate. So I think that being able to visit these places and see them firsthand has been helpful to you to better understand what these communities face and what they've accomplished in expanding their water resource by including these diversified sources of recycled water for landscape irrigation, all the way to the potential to augment their drinking water supply through groundwater recharge and like that. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Kim.
I'm agreeing. Thank you, Vaughn. Vaughn. Oh my gosh, I've got Vaughn on the brain. Oh my gosh, I was looking at his picture and I was like, oh, Vaughn. Sorry, Mark, I apologize for that. So on these trips, I was getting a ton of feedback from the participants, and the feedback was really positive and a lot of generating ideas. And I thought it would be a good idea post the trip to do a poll to the group and find out, well, what were the takeaways for you, and what feedback do we need to know so that we can improve the trips or make them more informative and better prepare our boards and staff to communicate these projects to the public? Because that was really one of the primary goals, is for us to be able to, as a region, be able to communicate to the public about these projects. And so I asked them about 7 or 8 questions, and I just wanted to give you a quick overview. I won't belabor the feedback. But of the 22 participants, 15 took the poll. 15 were very satisfied, one somewhat satisfied with the overall experience. So I felt like, that was a 1 to 5 star rating. Most people gave it a 5-star rating. So we felt like the overall experience was a valuable one for the board. When we asked them what facility was their favorites, Pure Water Monterey was clearly the favorite of the different participants. And what I should have asked as a follow-up question was why? And I didn't do that, so I don't have that feedback for you. So I will follow up with that on what made that facility unique in their perspective. The presentations were informative, and tours were, most participants felt like the tours were a great way to learn more about purified water planning efforts. And if I asked them if they would recommend the visits to others, and all of them were a resounding yes, and they gave us a list of public officials, operating staff, even the regulators might benefit from learning more about what we're trying to accomplish in this community. So some of the takeaway highlights were that the tours generated a lot of excitement, and a lot of the participants felt we're on the right track. These projects they weren't started yesterday, they were started 10 to 15 years ago with visioning these projects, doing the demonstration projects. And I think it's important for our community to realize that this is a long process. It's not an overnight planning effort. It takes some time. And the communication piece is a really important piece. Including the public through the entire process. We talk a lot. I get a lot of comments from many of you commissioners about how we held a workshop. Are we communicating to the public on a variety of projects? And so I think it's important to continue to carry that through with these particular projects. And another thing that was interesting is I think realizing that every facility is unique and different and has different drivers. We're going to have to really get good at communicating what the drivers are for our community, what treatment processes we're using, why we've chosen those treatment processes. And so I think this communication plan that Data Instincts is working on is going to help us to do that. Projects are expensive. We need support from our funding agencies and the community. And most people felt it was inspiring to see what these drivers were for the different communities, how they used new and innovative technologies and solutions to solve their water resource planning issues. And I thought this last one was pretty interesting. We visited a few facilities that actually regenerated their own power or were completely self-sufficient in their design of their facility. And so they felt that we might have some goals included in our process for some of those self-sustainability goals to be in play. So I loved these pictures. They were my favorite. I had to include them because we had so much fun at this photo op. This was the Pure Water SoCal front office, and I have some more fun pictures, but these were the ones that I thought I could share publicly. So I just wanted to end that with a picture of all your technical directors and staff that are really working hard behind the scenes to look at the treatment technologies and the processes and see if there was any questions from the board or anything else that we can
So I know these guys are very excited. I just want to remind everybody of time, so whatever you want to say, just try to keep it within the thing, but I would love to hear from whoever would like to share. Sure.
I guess my only advice is if you weren't able to make it, follow their social media. It's been really neat to kind of watch to see what they post now as well as what they've posted previously. I think if I was going to summarize anything, there's a lot of public outreach that we have to do, and they're doing a good job of it. And I think that's been really rewarding. Just watch and learn. I'm continuing to learn about all the facilities, even though I'm here in Sparks. So that was it.
Anderson.
First off, I just want to say, Mark, fantastic job. The facilities you picked were tremendous. The people that presented were fantastic. It was very well done. I thought we were just going to go understand the process. I did not realize everything else that's involved, and I think you said it well, Kim. There's a lot of work to be done besides just building it and making it happen. And thank you for herding cats. I appreciate it. You did a great job. To me, it was amazing to see something as massive as Orange County and so small as Soquel. But what you got to see was, yes, there are different processes, procedures. They had to engage the public differently. And then you even got to see interlocal government works and the things that didn't work and those that did. And it was really interesting and very informative for me. And I just want to say thank you. To me, I think the point is we need to be looking at something like that locally to start getting the public and electeds and everyone involved in this so that we're feeling more comfortable moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll add, I could just say ditto, but I'll add just one more thing. Thank you both. It was remarkable how you did, to the point about herding cats, how you got us from Reno to these places on the buses, touring the facilities, kept us on time and got us back on time. You know, we had airplanes to make and those those pause for no one. I thought that the education pieces that we saw are really a take home in terms of the fact that a lot was invested in them. And often that would be something that would be slighted, not put money in to make it really appealing. And they really did invest in those, several of them. And I hope we can do as well here, that we don't short shrift that, give it. And the second piece, I think, is just the fact that these plants were located sort of embedded within communities. I think I was surprised how close houses were and other facilities were to these facilities. And I think that speaks highly of what's happening here. So anyway, terrific trip. Really appreciated it.
Thank you.
Practice.
And I'm really sorry I missed it. It just didn't work out for me. My one question, though, really is on the financing, because that keeps me up at night here, and I think Reno has a bigger stake in it. And there's only 2 on this body from Reno, but, we've got 2 water treatment plants, in particular, the one that, is where the reinjection is going to occur. The county at some point might want to partner up. And then we've got the big main stem one that we share with Sparks. And so we got 2 big investment decisions. We haven't done a great job on our rates and struggling in a lot of ways. And I just, if this educational is going to continue, I think maybe we move into case studies on the financing, because the gee whiz factor is great, but I saw photos of GMs. Those GMs spend 80% of their time on numbers and finances. I mean, I just know it. So did you get a lot of that? Or that, I think, needs to be fleshed out, because it's not going to work for Reno. It's really a very broken financial modeling that I see coming up.
I'll just say that from the different people we heard, there are acknowledgments of potential federal funding and also state funding. And so exploring those aggressively is important. I know that both Reno and Tumwa have people in place working on that. I think some of them are here today, and that's important, and that be done diligently and consistently, just like the public outreach, so that you can offset the cost to ratepayers. Amazingly, Pure Water SoCal was able to get $80 million in grants from the state of California through their Prop 1, and then additional funding through the Bureau of Reclamation and through WIFIA, another almost $50 million in low-interest loans. So the pursuit of those fundings is critically important to offset cost to ratepayers, absolutely. And it does take a devoted, consistent team doing that. I think, it's my observation that you have that in place with this project.
And if I could just, because we're not talking about it enough anywhere,
Oh,
the financing.
I don't question it. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
said, we're going to have him
I mean,
back. He's not going away.
Yeah,
so just
no,
remember that.
it's just, number one is California financing is so different from Nevada financing. You can't even compare. And my other concern is we've missed the boat on, we just saw the feds invest like they never have before. And, in my lifetime, and make 2008 look, small. I don't think it's coming forward again. So unless, it might even get clawed back. So I'm even, dubious about that. And I'm just, where I'm sitting, I'm not even hearing numbers, so.
I'll
anyway,
just close by
yeah.
saying there are other people on the team who could speak better to the issue than myself.
I think all the factors, there's so many factors, and finances, obviously, one of our main jobs is budgeting. So she's not wrong. You're going to get those things. However, I'm going to also say, though, when you're talking about the resource of water, that's gold. That's worth so much. In the future, if we don't figure out water, we don't know what the future holds. We have no idea how our mountain's going to continue to do what it's supposed to do and bring the resources. We have to think ahead for the future generations. And so as much as I do agree, we can do nothing without the finances in place. To me, that's like a no question, and I appreciate the questions. We're going to keep asking those. And so that's to anybody out there thinking they're doing this. However, if we don't cast vision, the finances will not come. And casting this vision, so the one thing that I would first of all say thank you to you both. Again, I apologize I could not be there. I will be at the next one with everything I can be. But I would say this, I want to see some paths forward. I know that this is whatever, but make sure we know the steps, not today, but the next time you come. I'd love to see a little bit of some things, even if it's not even with, by 2020, whatever, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what are the next steps? What are the things, if you could kind of lay that out for us a little bit, let us speak into it. And some of that will be, let us look at some financial hurdles that we know we want to do. Let us be fiscal responsible, because there are some people who get so excited about vision that all we do is dump it on our taxpayers or whatever, and that can't be. We know we don't think that way in any of the boards we serve on. So anyway, with that said, I would ask, but I thank you. I think this is crucial. This is, to us, what we can gift our future generations is something like this.
Well, thank you very much. And we do look forward to coming back and explaining further our public outreach plans. We have a mobile educational trailer that will be out in the community starting this spring. So there are many other things we could talk about.
We look forward to having you back, for sure.
Great,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very good. We're on to number 11, report, discussion, and possible direction to staff regarding the was the last thing? No, we didn't need anything on that. Regarding the NWPC public at large position vacancy recruitment. Ms. Rigdon, that's you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. So item 11, I think it was January where during staff comments, I let you know that Mickey Hazelwood, our public at large Northern Nevada Water Planning Commissioner, resigned his position. And so I've been working with the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission to do an open recruitment for that position. And we have, the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission directed staff to go ahead in February, put out the recruitment announcement. We did that. And in March, we re-met with the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, where they had directed us to bring them some evaluation criteria to take a look at how, if we had numerous applicants, how we could rank them and score them. So in your board packet, the attachment shows that evaluation criteria that staff brought to the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. They approved that criteria. At that time, we also extended the recruitment period through April 7th. So currently, we are receiving applications. We've received 3 so far, really good qualified applicants. We're hoping to receive more. If we receive more than 5, we'll apply that evaluation criteria and we'll bring the top 5 to the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. And then they will look at the candidates, evaluate them, and make a recommendation to this board on that appointment.
Is there a timing on that?
I'm hoping that we can, if the recruitment period ends April 7th, in our May meeting with the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, they'll be able to review and make a recommendation to this board. Because our May meeting is our public hearing, that's a 30-minute meeting, and it looks like we're going to have board elections and our budget, I think we should bring it before you in the June meeting, is what I'm anticipating. Unless we can work on the board's schedule, unless the board feels like in that 30 minutes.
And we can talk more about,
We
let's
can
talk, let's
talk
talk
more
more about that as we
Do
get
you know
closer.
if we're not having an April meeting then? You said May.
I am not planning on having an April meeting unless, I'm keeping it on the schedule unless there's some
calendar.
legislative session updates that we need to discuss or take action on. But no, currently.
This says for possible action.
Yeah, the action, I just left that open for the board in case there was discussion around our process or some direction that you wanted to give to staff. But if there's none, then it's just a report.
Thank you. Let's go ahead. Now, I know we're coming into legislation. We all have a lot that we like to talk about this. I would like a little break between this and Tumwa for myself, and I will be. So with that said, if whoever's going to bring that, can you just make sure, I say this, that if there's something that's definite, let's have this, let's bring it, but let's make sure that we hit the pertinent things, and if there's huge questions on that, we have a whole committee who's working on that as well.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I think Lucas is just going to quickly explain
Thank
the
you.
process.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just talk about process. We did have a few bills we pulled just for edification purposes, but we don't need to go through all that in the.
Appreciate it.
So just in terms of process, as you know, the legislative subcommittee of this body hasn't met yet because we just made an appointment to it. In terms of going forward, the idea is going to be, as is the case with other boards you're on, to use the legislative subcommittee to inform staff's approach on a timely basis over the course of the session. That committee can then come back to this board as it deems fit to get more guidance from this board as it deems appropriate. That said, staff is monitoring the legislation on a day-to-day basis and conferring about what is relevant to WRWC and what is not. To date, we haven't identified any bills or measures that appear to us to implicate the WRWC's interests such that the WRWC would engage. But over the course of the session, that could change, and that will all be brought to the fore through the subcommittee process. The idea also with the subcommittee is to kind of append our process to the TUMBLA process a bit so that we are coordinated, not necessarily in substance, but so that we are not being repetitive. So the idea will be that this subcommittee of this body will review legislation that has, in connection with which the WRWC might have a different orientation or emphasis, but most likely would not be inconsistent with TUMBLA's view, but would just be maybe take a different approach to it. But with that said, that's the really update on process.
So I do have one that I brought up to Ms. Rigdon that I want, SB 220, I think it, am I correct on that?
AB 220?
AB 220, I'm sorry. What is that? This actually is one that's out of Clark County, and it's one that I don't believe anything's getting passed quickly because there's a lot of hair on, there's a lot of fighting against it from the south. I only say that I'm worried about the wording right now. If the wording stays where it's at and it's just Colorado, then it doesn't affect us. But I've heard some rumblings that potentially all of it doesn't look as tight as necessary, and there could be unintended consequences. So I'd ask if our legislative team, when you guys
Take a
meet,
look at it.
take a look at that. And I really haven't looked at it beyond
Sure.
hearing about it through the health board, that there could potential, and it has to do with connecting to septic tanks. So, yeah, it's from the south, and so.
It is limited in that respect to Clark County, but it is about basically pushing people off of septic and getting it on the municipal and sewer system in Clark County.
Yeah.
It is a large bill. There's a lot more to it than that, but that is what's at the heart of it.
That's what if it really stays regional and it does that, then technically we really don't have much except precedent. And so precedent is a big thing for us in what we do. I mean, I say this, if we ever want to do something with our septic tanks, I would like it to be something that we're helping to be in charge of, not just something that falls over in dominoes to us and now we find ourselves in a hot spot. And so, again, I don't know enough about it to really have a whole conversation, but I do ask that we make sure we are putting up the right shields if we need it.
I know that also the members of this subcommittee of this body heard about that bill at the TUMLA Legislative Subcommittee, which met, I believe, last week. And I'll just note, too, that the rest of the bill has to do with return flow credits, which obviously is not an issue that we have. So that's what is driving the policy.
I heard that, too. I heard all comes down to money. Yeah, I heard that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, just a comment. Just for the new members or the members of the Western Regional Water Commission Legislative Committee. We've set a date we've put a date on the calendar of every other week to meet from 1 to 3. And so the next one will be March 24th, if you want to get, we just put them out on the calendars, and so we will cancel as needed.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mrs. Stewart. I did talk to Steph Morris over at Tumwa, and we're going to piggyback on those meetings.
Yeah.
So they will be 2 separate meetings, but if WRWC is not taking a different stance than Tumwa, we'll just cancel the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for stepping up and doing that during this time. I appreciate it. We're on to 14, discussion and possible direction to staff regarding agenda items and dates for future WRWC meetings.
This will be quick. Kim Riggin for the record. So we talked about the April 19th meeting staying on the calendar, but likely not to happen unless there was some reason to hold that meeting. So the next meeting will be May 18th, the budget hearing meeting. And then we'll also hopefully bring that public at large member to appoint the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission at that meeting. And then June 19th will be primarily some more project presentations and updates. And then that's also the meeting of the year that we do a lot of the agreements, bringing the agreements to you. So you'll get to review those.
The only thing I would ask when it comes to schedule, one of the things I think we get to do in this board that's fun is hands-on things. So if we could consider, there's plenty of things for us to go see that I think is wise for us to see as we make decisions about them. And so if there's something that is hot to you, I don't even know what the right answer is, but I think in the next 4 to 6 months, it'd be nice that we had another, let's get our board out and go see something, and we can come, so we're educating ourselves as we go as well.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, especially with some of the new board members, maybe a
Yes.
facility site visit or something to give you more.
Exactly. A lot's changing even at the plants. We have a lot of new things going on. We have a lot of, you name it, there's all kinds of stuff, so whatever would be good.
Sounds good.
Let's go ahead and go on to public comment. Do we have any? We have none. Any commission comments? I do want to say this, and I'll say this, Vaughn has served well, and so with that said, he'll be missed, and, we all get to lead from the different perspectives we have and things of that fashion, but I do want to officially on record say thank you to Vaughn Hartung for his years of being here and serving. And we have a great board. And so to me, I'm very pleased to know that the future is strong. I strongly believe, and you guys, those who were on this board at the time, but I believe this board is important to our region. It is something that we cannot see go by the wayside. It's not an extra board. It's not Tumwa and then this. These have 2 different distinct reasons for being. And so I thank you for being here, our new members. And please know, if you whether you're new or even us, there's times I have to go ask questions that we talk about stuff and I have no idea what you're talking about. So that's not new, that's not odd, just know that's normal. And so, any other commissions, we're good? Okay. And then staff comments.
No staff comments.
Okay, well, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much for giving me at least a 5-minute break.
Good job.
I like that. Kind of like speed dating.
Myself, I know.